think we can do a pre-show now because got all my ducks in a row. Because I'm getting my coffee. Miss Flex Your Feminine, you're on screen. Can you tell everybody about the awesome stuff you have going on Flex Your Feminine?
Morning, guys. Hope everybody's Friday started off well. Flex Your Feminine, I'm excited. There's a lot of good stuff in the works that are going to be coming out more towards the end of the year. But right now, I'm excited to be a part of my good friend and client. Her name's Martine. Her Instagram handle is Feminine Womanhood, if you want to go check her out. But I'm a part of her program, The Well-Loved Woman, right now, and it's all based around 4 different characters or archetypes in the Bible. So I'm going to be teaching on Esther and tying that into fitness and queenship energy and responsibility and stewardship and all that good stuff. So that's what I'm excited about right now.
Where am I at? There's 2 sets of 4 archetypes, right, for men and women, right?
Well, there's actually, I believe it's, I may be mistaken, but Carl Jung, in the psychology world, came up with, I believe, 7 archetypes.
Oh.
But for the purposes of our program, the Well-Loved Woman that she invited me into, we're using the 4. So it'll be Eve in the garden.
Hold it. You know what? Hold on to that. Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
Because something tells me that may actually go into setting up the idea of hierarchies and roles that be played, and which kind of leads into our conversation for today of the men.
Yeah, it does. And it leads into what I'm kind of soft launching right now, which is a new exciting course that I'm going to be rolling up here in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
All right. We're going to get going here. We're going to have a show here on Spreely TV. Do not forget to go to Spreely.com and check out all the other shows out there, like the Burn Pit Podcast, Report and Opine, the Shannon Joy Show, Pete Santilli, Evening Rants. There's also a social media platform. You're like, man, I want to go somewhere where I could say what I want and not get censored. Spreely Social. Spreely Social. But don't be one of those, we need American patriotic companies. Okay, Spreely.com. Spreely, like literally, why are you guys supporting listening to the show and not telling are you embarrassed? You go, I don't want to talk about Spreely because it makes me look like a liberal faggot. Is that what you're thinking? Because that's not the case. Makes you look like a conservative. You got to walk around with stretch pants because your balls are so big.
You should look like a conservative with higher testosterone levels.
Well, let's talk about that today. All right, Spreely.com. Let's have a show. Welcome.
Prepare yourself.
The opinions of the host and guests on the show are exclusively just that, opinions. That means that they shouldn't be the cause of your state of being offended. Why does everybody get so butthurt?
Okay, let's go. Ready, go!
Sit down, shut up, and pay attention.
Damn!
This is the Rants of Izzo Show with your host, Dominic Izzo, from porn to politics. We touch every third rail we can find. You might want to put your headphones on so your mom can't hear this. It's been called the most entertaining 60 minutes on the internet, and it starts now. Let's do this.
Good afternoon. This is the Rants of Izzo Show here on Spreely TV. All things speak freely. We're a free speech stream of consciousness show that appears every Monday through Friday. That's 1 p.m. Eastern. Go ahead and Google search for the other times if you need to. I'm not going to help you out with that one. And I'm going to close out the week, thank God. Kayla from Flex Your Feminine is joining today. It's awesome to have you. Democrat National Convention closed.
Oh, yeah. The circus is in town.
Yeah, not for long. It's leaving. Pre-show, some people do get the pre-show, some people don't. Mostly people who are on the podcast and get to listen to it later. They get the pre-show. You and I were talking about projects you're working on. You guys can go to flexyourfeminine.com and check that out. You're talking about the archetypes, right? That's what it is?
Yeah.
And I had wanted to, I sent you an article that I wanted to cover beforehand. I think they lead hand in hand. Yeah, they lead hand in hand. Tim Walz, who is the Democrat vice president nominee, who I think was a brilliant move. And the more I'm seeing them appoint him, I can't find the audio for this, but this was the CNN. What the hell is this broad's name? What the hell's her name? CNN host.
The one you sent me?
Okay, Dana Bash. That's it. So I don't watch CNN. I caught this audio, and I can't find it conveniently, but I have an article written up on it. CNN host Dana Bash discussed on Wednesday how the Democrat National Convention is trying to reach men who are, quote, less testosterone laden by putting Governor Tim Walz and the second gentleman, Doug Imhoff, in those positions. Quote, the gender gap in American politics has been trending very strongly for years. But in this year, at least according to test polls, it's so strong. This is from CNN's Jake Tapper. The women vote is overwhelmingly for Harris. The male vote is overwhelmingly for Trump, though not as much. Co-host Dana Bash agreed and noted that Democrats are trying to take a different tactic than last time a woman was at the top of her ticket, saying, quote, yes, there's a gender gap, and there's the idea that for the last month, the Democrat Party has been trying to rally around women at the top of the ticket, which is the only other time they did it, which was 2016. And it has been noteworthy to see how they are learning to do and how to confront Donald Trump as the opponent to women. 2016 and now are very different campaigns of very different female candidates. Bash said Democrats are trying to appeal to men who might not be as masculine as their Republican counterparts. This is huge. I don't know if you've been paying attention to any of Harris's campaign. I do think she's going to win. I think she's going to win because they're marketing towards the weakest side of Americans. And Tim Walz comes in. He can speak, and he's a fucking bully. And they're painting him in like this coach / grandfatherly position, but he's younger than Biden. They featured his son, who's got, I guess, disability, and the son was crying out of pride at his father at the convention, and nobody was saying shit. But this is how good the left is at starting problems, gaslighting. They would take a photo. Many influencers who are on the liberal left, blue check marks, would take a photo of Tim Walz's kid who's got disabilities, and they would show him crying. And all of them said the same thing. I better not see anybody making fun of Tim Walz's son, blah, 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 Gus Walz. And people are like, nobody's making fun of him.
No.
But you're purposely bringing it up. And that got people like me to go, dude, did you guys defend Kyle Rittenhouse when he was a young boy crying on the stand, reliving his trauma? You made fun of him like crazy. Did you attack Barron Trump? So I honestly think what they are doing is they are completely attacking the testosterone male. This is toxic masculinity, no joke, on steroids this time around. And I think the effeminate man and femininity, I think they're going to come out on top this time. I really do.
I think that I don't think so.
I hate you. I'm right. No, trust me.
I don't want to get too off in the weeds. Like it's not important. Honestly, it's not important either way. Like I don't really care. I don't care if you're right, if I'm right. It doesn't really matter. Like at the end of the day, America needs to accomplish certain things in order to bring about the Antichrist.
This is one of them.
The papacy. And I don't see the Democratic, super liberal side of things bringing about the papacy for the Antichrist to return. I don't.
Okay.
I see that actually happening through the side that you and I align with more, where it becomes more of a quote unquote Judeo-Christian nation again, and things start to there becomes less of a separation between church and state. I mean, that's what the papacy is all about. And they need to return to that in order to bring about their inner world order and the Antichrist. So that's why I don't think.
So you don't see that as ushering in, be like we covered this last week, be your own God, write your own script, all this kind of stuff. You don't see that as the same thing as where I have no faith in conservative men leading the charge to stand in the way of this. I really don't. I mean, literally my view is, and it's my view, and I'm not going to do anything about it because for the most part, I've seen what happens when you try to call to action to people. They just don't fucking ever call to action. Let's just say
that's what I mean. And that's what I mean. It's two wings of the same bird. Whether the left wins and they go about some weird back door of bringing about the papacy and ending the division between church and state, or it's through the front door with the quote unquote conservative Christian side, which we've talked ad nauseum before about what I think about the current state of the church in America. It's full of really weak men. Just because they may have higher testosterone levels doesn't mean that they're spiritually on point, right? So either way, it's two wings of the same bird, quite frankly, and it doesn't really matter. That's why I say it doesn't really matter, because whether it's the really, really weak men on the hormonal and physical level leading in the end times, or it's the physically stronger men but spiritually weak leading in the end times, it's all going to come to pass the way that it needs to come to pass. And I think America has a very specific role to play in bringing about the papacy again, which is where the Antichrist is going to come from.
You think inaction is going to spawn? My head's going to blow up on this one. So you think like inaction is going to bring on action, and that's going to do what's needed? It's fucked up, man. It's fucked up.
I just don't think so the action that everyone's calling for is playing into their hands exactly what they want us doing still. Mm. So, people choosing inaction, are you really choosing inaction? Is that really your free will choice? Or have you been brainwashed? Are you really a part of the matrix and you're not unplugged? You're not awake enough to see it. You're actually playing and eating out of their hand, and vice versa. Are the actions that you're taking actually based in free will and God's law, or is that also playing out of their hands? And that's where it comes down to, I think you and I ended our call last week, where it was just I wish God or Archangel Michael would just freaking give us an order and just tell us exactly what to do and how to do it. But the reality of the situation is that no matter what we do, we can only do the best that we can with the knowledge that we have, and try to listen to the leading of the Holy Spirit and follow God's order to the best of our ability. And at the end of the day, his plan is always going to be the plan that comes to fruition. No matter what color wins the election in America, his plan is going to come to fruition. And that really, there's a lot of peace in that, because this whole divide and conquer tactic is very, very clear. This whole circus show is very, very clear. And it's all about getting you to focus on that, focus over here. Don't look over here. Don't watch that. I don't know, maybe Trump's going to win, and maybe that's actually going to bring about the papacy and the return of the Antichrist through America. If you read Revelation, that makes a lot more sense. It all boils down to all roads lead to Rome. So
I'm trying to find it. It's one of my favorite. I've got a weird man, it's not even in there. It's SIMMS maybe. So
I think that might actually be this is just coming to me now. I think that might actually be the more disillusioning avenue than the liberals, than the Kamala and Walz winning. Because for the right, for the Republicans, the conservatives, the libertarians, the red, to basically walk so far down the road and quote unquote fight and take action and win, only then to have the rug pulled out from underneath them, because this was always leading to the same place, just taking a different path.
Yeah, I found a clip. One of my favorite movies as a kid was called Moon Over Parador with Raul Julia and Richard Dreyfuss. And Richard Dreyfuss, he's an actor that. Did you ever see the movie Dave, where Kevin Kline plays the president? He's an actor.
I don't think so.
Same thing. They're two actors, and the president has a stroke or whatever, so they substituted. This is how there's an election in Parador, and this is what two guys have to say about the election.
I'm going to vote blue.
Vote for who you want. This is a free dictatorship.
The joke of that was, he goes, vote for whoever you want. This is a free dictatorship. For the listening, listening audience can't see. There's two posters for the campaign: white Sims and blue Sims, and they're both the dictator is on both of them. He's running in both parties, and it's like, vote for who you want. It's a free dictatorship. Even as a kid, I saw that. I was like, oh my God, that's how our country is. It's ridiculous.
When was that? What year was that?
Early 80s. Got to be 86, maybe.
That's interesting to me. That it's funny to me that the name that they used was Sims, and then we have that computer game alternate reality come out called Sims. Yeah.
1988, Moon Over Parador. Yep.
Okay.
Great movie. It's a fantastic movie. If anybody's ever seen it. Raul Julia's in it. I will cut your balls off.
It's very true, though. Yeah, they tell us the truth in theater. They tell us the truth in this entertainment.
I've said for years, if you ever look at the two biggest genres of movies, aliens and zombies, they're the two biggest, like crazy. And I'm telling you, my view is,
and superheroes.
So when you get somebody, a couple different things with that one, right?
Well, yeah, which gets back to the archetypes.
Yeah, you get a superhero comes by, you're not going to disagree with if you have a Homelander show up and he's going to zap your head into a million pieces, you're going to comply. But I've always said it's like you get an alien to show up on the White House lawn, and it says, "Greetings, Earthlings. We're here to solve your financial problems. We have the cure to cancer." All this shit. It blows me away how people will listen and believe the tangible that they could see, right? They're more likely to believe that an alien will land on the front lawn of the White House and give a press conference, but no, there's no man in the sky. There's no visible man in the sky. So I think they're doing that on purpose, the aliens and the zombies, so that when the shit does happen, like, we'll be like, we knew it was coming. So,
Finally, we're saved.
And that's where the superheroes are too, so you'll fall in the fucking line. Mm-hmm. Where does that fit in?
And the superheroes are all based on, again, it's all truth, like truth hidden in plain sight. Truth is stranger than fiction. They don't make these things up. They pull from history. So if you look back at the Greek gods and the Egyptian gods and the Babylonian gods and the Persian gods, and like all of these gods, they have different names for the same things. Right? These are literally gods, little g, principalities, aliens, right? Superhumans that are then transitioned into our day and age. The language that we're using, the names that we're using are Superman and Thor instead of like Osiris and blah, 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 It's all the same. There's nothing new under the sun.
No, and we've talked about this several times before too. With every time I bring him up, Rob Skiba, where I watch his stuff and I'm like, holy shit, Greek mythology is real. Mm-hmm. It's real. All right, archetypes. Break these down. What are archetypes? Because I've heard them before. Is this the king, the jester, warrior, and stoic or something?
Let me pull up my my little notes here so that I don't. So I try not to misspeak too much. The archetypes, there's a lot of different variations to archetypes though. So I don't want somebody to listen to this and be like, oh, Kayla said X, Y, and Z, and that's just the way it is. And then they go hear somebody else and they're like, somebody was wrong. Because there's a lot of different variations to the archetypes. There's, like I said in the pre-show, I believe it was Carl Jung who ordained, for lack of a better word, the original like 7 archetypes. I believe it was 7 for the feminine. And I think that there is a male counterpart to that, like you were saying, the warrior, the king, the lover, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the feminine has her own, and there's the maiden, there's the lover, there's the mother, there's the queen, there's the wise woman. I'm forgetting a couple in there off the top of my head. But anyway, the point is, like, male and female, we each have these different archetypes. And basically what they represent is throughout, for each individual person and collectively as a whole throughout society, in our lifetimes individually, we all go through these different archetypal transition points. When you were a boy versus when you were a man versus a teenager versus an old man. Same thing with a woman, right? We go through these different chronological, experientially grounded, hormonally grounded transitions in life into different seasons. And the archetypes specifically reference those points where we can view them on the body in a lot of ways. It represents the archetypes in the psyche. So our psyche is like the program that runs in the back of our mind. It's the subconscious mind. That's kind of the psyche. So these archetypes have different places in each person's story, in each person's growth journey. And some people will experience all of them, and some people will kind of get stuck. And there's a lot of society right now that is really stuck. Like you see a lot in the work that I do with the feminine community, women, we see a lot of women stuck in the princess archetype or the maiden. And it's a very there's light aspects and shadow aspects to each archetype, but the shadow aspects to something like being stuck in the princess or maiden archetype is just a lot of immaturity and a lot of entitlement and a lot of narcissism and that sort of thing. Okay. So if that can kind of help you connect some dots there. So what I was speaking about does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it's the generalized. Yeah, I heard about this years ago, and it's fucking fascinating as all hell.
So fascinating.
It breaks down, like you could start to like match up who you are and the fluidity. I think it's absolutely incredible. But yeah.
And like when I say, we all have the opportunity to go through these archetypal transitions, like you said, it's a great word. It's also very fluid. Like just because you may be maybe you could be classified as a king in certain aspects of your life doesn't mean that you're not also classified as a warrior in other aspects of your life, right? There's still a lot of overlap and there's a lot of fluidity. Same thing with femininity. Like we may have certain aspects that need more growth to get out of the princess mentality and that archetype in order to really embody the queen or to really embody the wise woman. But regardless, like even with the overlap, it kind of gives a really cool container with which to view our psyche, which is a very intangible thing to try to explain or understand, and to give us more of an outside looking in objective perspective of what's going on in that subconscious mind that tends to run the show, whether we like it or not. And you can take the reins, but you have to be aware of how to do that.
Yeah,
so
you're advocating individual responsibility, and as a Western,
oh my God, I know what's new. I'm like, that's the horse I beat.
Yeah, dude, we don't do that. Yeah. We don't do that here in the United States. We just don't. Fuck, dude.
So there's a lot of common understanding, I think, of the 7 archetypes as, like I said, I believe Carl Jung kind of ordained, and then there's other schools of thought from Eastern practitioners who have like 14 archetypes, so it goes. Kind of just take what resonates and leave what doesn't. The Carl Jung methodology, I think that there's a lot of really good stuff there. I don't identify or agree with all of it, nor do I need to, because I'm not a psychologist. That was kind of specific to the psychology realm of looking at the psyche. Once you get into the polarity space, like I am with health and holistic wellness and femininity and masculinity, it kind of takes on a different conversation. So the work that I'm doing right now, there's two things going on where I'm a part of she's a client of mine and she's a really great friend. I love the work that she does. I'm actually a part of one of her little ongoing membership platforms because I just love watching and listening to her and learning together. But she's doing a 12-week program right now called The Well-Loved Woman, and it's all based around the woman at the well in Scripture.
Oh, yeah. The one, Jacob's well, right?
Yeah. So, and just taking a very refined and kind of almost deconstructionist view of Christianity, bringing it back to a lot of what I talk about is bringing it back to biology. So she invited me into this container to be, to kind of co-create with her, and as well as a couple of other wonderful gals to teach on different archetypes from Scripture. And she is teaching on Eve, for example, and then there's another woman teaching on the woman at the well. There's another one teaching on the woman with the alabaster jar, which for those of you who aren't familiar with, that's the woman who came and sat at Jesus' feet and poured out this just ridiculous amount of perfume on his feet and washed his feet with her hair.
Yeah, that was another Mary, and people confuse her and they think that was Mary Magdalene. I remember growing up and being told in Catholic grammar school, no, that's not Mary Magdalene. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So really, really wonderful women are all teaching on those kind of biblical archetypes that we're attributing, that concept to. And I'm teaching on Queen Esther and tying her archetype and her story into radical personal responsibility. Leadership and submission.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And taking it, it's not a Bible study. Like, yes, I know this could sound very Bible study, but we're taking these beautiful stories of these women and the example that they gave in Scripture, applying it to the archetypal psyche conversation, and then also applying it to our own individual, as teachers, zones of genius, if you will, in this world. And mine is fitness and health. So I'm going to be applying Esther's archetypal wisdom to the fitness space specifically.
Yeah, that's your gifts. You're given that as a gift, and you have responsibility to do that.
So I'm with my own research and my own studies that I do all the time, as I'm sure a lot of you do as well, that you just kind of follow the promptings and follow the rabbit holes, so to speak, on different things. I was led into this space with her to be able to teach, but I was also, when she approached me about teaching on Esther specifically, I was just mind blown at the coincidence or the synchronicity, because I was already researching Esther specifically for my own project, which I'm not going to announce the name of yet because I'm doing a soft launch and I want you all to see the beautiful marketing campaign and get some excitement going on around it. But Esther will also be a very big part of a mini course that I'm going to be launching here in the next couple of months. That's really going to help women understand wrapping archetypes in with fitness, right? With understanding the stewardship component and how our bodies are biological temples, and how to be a living sacrifice without the hustle and literally making ourselves like this. There's pain that's productive, and then there's pain that's destructive. So learning the difference, and that's what that's going to be all about. So I'm excited.
We're going to pay some bills here for a second, kids. This is the Rants of Izzo show here on Spreely TV. Spreely.com. Go there and check out all of the shows you have on there. Burn Pit Podcast, Shannon Joy's show, Pete Santilli's show, Evening Rants, Report and Opine. There's a video section. There's podcast sections. There's swag section. You want to get some stuff that everybody wants? Go get it there. Social media, so you'll never be silenced. Spreely.com. Also, don't forget to go to angiezwick.com. That's angiezwick.com. If you've got thinning hair, dull skin because of menopause, and you've been trying those powder collagens, they're not working, go to angiezwick.com. Just do it. Show some love to angiezwick.com. If you don't do it, you're clearly a communist. I can't help you, but this is what it is. And let's talk about flexyourfeminine.com for a second. Can you talk about, plug that?
Yeah. Go check out flexyourfeminine.com. That's where you'll kind of learn a little bit more about who I am, what I do, the story that brought me here, and the work that I do with women specifically online in the holistic wellness and fitness space, and how different it needs to be for women than it is for men. And the fitness industry just doesn't. Fitness industry gaslights you as a woman. So, get out of the gaslighting, get out of the manipulation, come check us out. If you've got some health goals, if you've got some fitness goals, let's work on it in a feminine way, because the feminine side's a lot stronger than you think it is.
Yeah, but are they equal to men?
Equal in value.
There you go. Yeah, check that out too.
Very different.
Health, I gotta get health. I said yesterday, I went to get my blood pressure tested for the first time in like 10 plus years, because I was riding my bike and I'm like, I'm feeling like shit, dude. And I'm getting,
oh yeah, you're still getting that.
Yeah, and it's getting worse. But I put 2 and 2 together. 3 weeks ago, I decided, let's up the test a little bit. So I went from like 250 a week to 375 a week, and that raises.
That's a little bit.
Oh yeah. So it's like that, and I look, my blood pressure was 156 over 111.
Okay.
So I'm like, yeah, she goes, yeah, that's a little high. I'm like, yeah. So I started logging. You can't see it, the audience can. I started logging all my calories and my intake. And I'm not doing a fucking app. I can't do it. But I consumed only carnivore yesterday. My total was 1,990 calories for the day, with 183 grams of protein, 122 grams of fat, and barely any carbs because it was just eggs and meat. And I went from 234.6 yesterday, except on the scale today I'm 231. My blood pressure was fucking. I'm like, man, I'm getting dizzy. This is ridiculous.
I'm eating more than you, Dom.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm also a lot heavier. Like I said, it was 234 pounds. I'm like, I can't carry this weight around anymore. I just can't.
Yeah. So you're trying to lean out a little bit?
I'm trying to lose a ton of body fat, so I can ride my motorcycle without feeling like I'm dizzy. I'm going to crash any fucking second. Yeah. Let's see. I wanted to pull this up because I've been on excuses, right? I posted this the other day. I want to read the narrative from a woman. Let's see. Let me scroll this down. It's in my stuff. Boom. This is from an account. I can't tell. Whatever it is, don't give a shit. I want to play.
Do I get to see it?
You can, but it's okay. I'll play it, and we can. It's narrative. I'll let you read it actually, because this will come from a woman's point of view here. So you can see this, right?
Oh God.
Okay, so let's start. Go ahead and read that first line.
Why did I have an affair? I know the answer, but it's hard for people to accept.
Okay.
It happened because a married man and I fell hopelessly in love. I'd never sought out an affair before, nor have I entertained the thought since. The simplicity of the laws of attraction can be frightening for people. It allows us to fall in love with someone else as humans without mental illness or fatal flaws. It allows us to share many of the same values and characteristics. But if we admit that human nature plays an important role in infidelity over moral crisis, we must consider our own susceptibility, and this triggers our vulnerabilities. So in order to feel safe, you call me a monster and turn away. This allows you to avoid looking more closely at yourself.
Yeah. That's her justification at having an affair. Yeah. And women eat that shit up.
There's a lot more words there than were really necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you don't agree with her?
No, I think that she took something that could have stopped at the level of, I did a lot of introspection because I understand that this was quote unquote morally wrong to participate in. And so therefore I did a lot of introspection and took self-responsibility for my actions and understanding how I got there so that I do not need to be there again. I didn't hear any remorse in that reel. I didn't hear any personal responsibility, really. I heard explanation and excuse as to why she shouldn't be viewed as the villain in someone's story about what she did. So she's choosing, again, there's two choices we have in every situation: the opportunity to be the villain or the opportunity to be the victim. And she's choosing victim, even though she had quote unquote complete control, law of attraction, over her situation.
I can't help who I'm in love with.
She doesn't understand the law of attraction. Like she says it's so simple, but she just very blatantly, in the rest of what she had to say, she very blatantly made it clear that she doesn't understand the law of attraction at all.
Call me a monster if you need to. Let's look at another one here. I made this one last night because I couldn't help it. I first, because like I've been doing more like criticism shit on fucking females because it gets me attention. And
it does get you a lot of attention.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna show you. This fucking broad says I'm gonna get a lot of attention.
You woke up and chose violence.
Oh, every damn day. So this woman, I'll play my response to her, but on her page she puts this up, and my comment was, well, maybe if you looked like you were in your 20s, you'd still have a man or whatever, indicating that she's blaming a man for the failure of her relationship, so whatever. And she's unbothered, but she said that she's going to give me a ton of attention now, and a ton of women are going to come my way because she believes in, I'll read her comment. Hang on, let me play this first.
There is about to be an epidemic of women in their 30s and 40s wiling out because they wasted their 20s on a cis straight white guy who didn't appreciate it. And now we're out here making up for lost time. Divorced and unbothered women in their 30s and 40s is the new naive and hopeful 20s. Y'all better get used to it because we got no fucks left to give.
For those who need it translated, she got married, didn't care anymore, got fat, husband didn't want to touch her anymore, and discovered that black guys loved her. That's all you had to say. You found black cock. Well done. She didn't like my oh, you didn't see that? She didn't like my comment, so she said, I love this. She goes, because I was back and forth in her comments. I'm like, man, you're really bothered by this, because she said she's unbothered. Oh, don't worry. You're about to get all the female attention that you want so badly. Give me a couple days, because she's going to do a video on me. You might be a fan of violence, but I'm a fan of humiliation. And I said, I can't wait. I'll start edging myself now.
She doesn't understand you at all.
Oh, fuck no, dude. I learned a long time ago, because I said this about some, and I can't tell if it's parody or not. There's a guy who was on The Bachelor, and says he's a trans now. Clearly not. He's masculine, tattoos, short hair, hairy, and all he did was paint his nails, put on lipstick, and throw on dresses. And some people
I think I know who you're talking about. Well,
some people are claiming he's doing it for attention. I'm like, dude, that's awesome if he is. And sure. I did a video and I pointed it out. I'm like, dude, you're just if this is true, you're doing it for attention. And I don't know why people just can't admit it. I don't know what this would be. I'm an attention whore, but I fucking hate it. Like, I want your attention, leave me alone. Yeah. It's almost like Marlene Dietrich, right?
You're like a cat.
I want to be, yes. Oh, that's wrong. Fucking, that's what women are. Fucking women are. My grandmother told me that. I remember I was fucking 13 years old. I could feel the carpet, the hard couch, all this shit. Dominic, women are like cats. When you want to give them attention, they know they'll run away. But when you're ignoring them, they're going to come up, start rubbing on your leg. 100%. 100 fucking percent. Do you think there's about to be an epidemic of women in their 20s who woke up and said, shit, we gave the guy a chance and now we're going to go find something else. And before you answer that, I want to play the conundrum of what men deal with. I want to play this audio. This is just audio of a woman explaining what I think financial abuse is. So the first part of this question is, do you think we're about to have a bunch of women who they wanted to get married, they jumped in, said, yeah, I'm going to get married, but now are like, fuck this, because listen to what this woman has to say about that.
Imagine one day you wake up in your marriage and you realize you want out. You no longer want to be in the marriage, except you realize the home that you live in is not in your name. The car you're driving is not in your name. The phone you use is not in your name. You don't have a bank account in your name. You have nothing that you actually own. How do you then leave? You can't. This is financial abuse, and this is what keeps you trapped in a marriage.
Men can't fucking win. We can't win. I'm going to give you all the freedom you want. You're not leading the relationship. I need a man who's going to put me in my place. Okay, then let me lead. You'll never have to worry about anything financial again. Can I have my own life? So,
number one, no woman in the history of humanity has ever woken up one day, just magically, was 150% happy the day before in her marriage, and just woke up the next day and decided, I don't want to be married anymore. I want out, unless she's demon possessed.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Here's why I agree with you.
Women don't make decisions like that.
Well, I want to give you one more I'm going to give you one more thing. This is an article. This is to add to your argument. Then the floor is completely yours. According to a recent article, research shows that half of women who are married or in a relationship have someone waiting on standby.
Mm-hmm.
So all that information's yours. How do we interpret that? The fuck is wrong with women?
We interpret that as there is a huge God-sized hole in culture, and this is just one of the millions of symptoms of that. And the reality is that marriage is supposed to be a covenant, not a contract. It's not supposed to be a manipulation tactic, just like sex is not supposed to be a transactional manipulation weapon, but it is. Women and men have not been taught in our culture today the value of marriage or sexuality. They have not been taught the proper way to vet a partner, a spouse, for a lifelong commitment. And therefore, they're making really poor decisions in who they're marrying. And then they don't have a frame for the marriage being a covenant or a commitment. They have the frame that it is a contract that they can break whenever things get hard or things get uncomfortable for them or they're not happy, right? And the qualification I gave earlier of no woman in the history of woman has ever woken up one day completely happy in her marriage and then woken up the next day and said, I want to leave. That's just not how women operate. It's not. Women take a long time and give everything they have to a relationship. Unhealthy women then find someone else to monkey branch to during that time once they realize that this is not going to work. And then they wake up and say, I'm done.
If this is cultural, though, how are guys? I've always said, the older I got, the worse the concept of marriage for me is for a specific reason. And it's the common denominator.
Well, I don't think marriage should be a government institution at all.
No, I 100% agree with
different.
that. I'm looking in the Bible and whatnot. I've never seen a marriage ceremony outside of the wedding in Cana. Right, I'm looking at. I just got done with
the wedding. The wedding always took place at the city gates with the elders and the family members, the father, and it was always like in Jewish culture, the husband would come and basically would like move into the wife's family's guest house or something, and that's how they would start their family. Like Western culture is effed. The way that we have structured family and disrespected family, dismantled family, and then from there dismantled sex and intimacy, and how that is now permeating the way that we relate to one another and relate to ourselves. People are getting married before they know who they are. People are getting married contractually with the government being the third person in their bed. and having no idea who they are because they have a God-sized hole in their soul. They have no idea who they are. They have no idea what their purpose is in this world and in this life. So therefore, you're not committed to yourself. How can you be committed to someone else and build a legacy with them? Right.
That's a huge thing. Like I said, I've broken it down into 4 categories. I can't date. Like, I can't date for a serious relationship looking at my options. It's like, okay, what do I do? As a near 50-year-old man, and this started in my 30s, I was horrible to date in my 30s because if I dated women that were my age, their main focus was not finding a partner to match their responsibility, to contribute to life with. It was my biological clock is ticking. I need somebody who can give me some sperm. And I'm like, you don't want me. You want an available donor. And the older I got, it became, I have no drama, no ex-wife, no kids, no baby mama drama, nothing, this and that. And I started to look, well, what are my options? You date 30 and under, so in all their 20s. Well, no, that woman who I played the one about talking, that I said about the black cock, in her comment when I said that maybe if you looked like your 20s, blah, 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 her reply to me is you just outed yourself as a pedophile. It's like, because I would be attracted to a woman in her fucking 20s. That's the diseased feminist fucking brain. So if society will look at me as, if I'm a 50-something-year-old man dating a woman who's 25 or whatever, Leonardo DiCaprio, he's a genius. If I go to 30s, that's a woman who I'm her last option for children. And if I go 40s, it's divorcee, never going to fucking listen to a man again, not going through what I did, too much intermasculine. 50s and over, it's fucking the living room, which used to be a bar up here in the Chicago area, where all the fucking Dago broads who got divorced went out and bought their fake tits. They're all trying to live like they're 21 again. So my options as dating as a single man with no children are very fucked. And never been married, very fucked. So, yeah.
Which is why the work that I do and like my good friend Martine does with women is so important. And there's a lot of men who are doing really wonderful work with men and redirecting their purpose in life and helping them find their purpose in life and knowing who they are. But the reality is that you can't fix one without the other. Like the right hand needs the left hand. So my focus is on women and reaching the women who, like me, I was in that very masculine mode, that very self-preservation, survival, fight or flight mode for years post-divorce. And yet here I am, remarried, very happily, stay-at-home wife who loves to fucking feed my husband who deserves it. And I will submit to him until the day that I die. And that is a complete 180 from who I was when I was getting divorced from a cheater in my 20s.
Oh,
right.
Dude,
so I was that girl and I'm not that girl anymore. And so my passion is really that you don't need to stay there, but women feel like they don't have another option because that's all culture tells them there is.
Yeah.
Right?
Here's
all
culture.
Men are bad. And that's neo-feminism. That's this Marxist ideology of rebellion against everything is the only way. And that it is the only way to a complete death sentence, honestly, for culture.
This is American culture.
Last night, my wife made this soup, and I told her it tastes like shit. Tastes a lot better today.
For those who can't see, he's wearing bandages on his face, got a black eye, bloody lip, and she's behind him drilling holes. This is fucking American culture today. This is a joke.
Yeah.
It's a fucking joke.
And look at entertainment. I mean, they're making this kind of content on Instagram because, number one, I guarantee you that their marriage is no fun. Like there's always some truth in humor, right? And so for her, I'm not saying she beats her husband literally, but there's always some truth in humor. And she is probably the more masculinized one in the polarity conversation for that marriage. And so it's not exactly going to be the healthiest situation. But look at our entertainment system. Like these stupid adult cartoons that have been out for the last 20 years that totally paint, I'm thinking about like American Dad and Homer Simpson and just like these buffoons of father male husband figures, right? That's how they've painted the masculine. So we have generations now that have grown up on that kind of content. And then we have generations that have grown up with literally absentee fathers in their own lives, in the lives of their friends. And so this is the culture now, is that there's zero respect for the masculine and there's zero respect for the feminine, because the whole neo-feminist movement is about making women into miniature men, which we think are evil.
What's the cultural saying? Finish this sentence. Happy wife.
Yeah, I don't agree with the sentence, but everyone knows how to finish it.
Yeah, happy wife, happy life. It's like,
but how do you actually get a happy wife though? Because what they want you to think is happy wife, happy life. You get her everything she wants. That doesn't make a woman happy. It doesn't.
No, because they have no respect for you then when you do everything and you submit as a man. Fucking it blows me away. It absolutely blows me away. Yeah. That
there's a stark, not only is it a God-sized hole in the collective, but it is also a stark example of there is zero understanding of who we are fundamentally as biological men and biological women. There is no understanding of the dynamics of a relationship in a healthy, biologically true sense of the term. And if we could come back to that conversation instead of having this whole circus act of 150 different genders and pretending like men and women don't exist anymore, we don't even know how to define a woman anymore. Stop with all that manipulation and gaslighting and come back to the truth. We could start to make some really great progress in this.
Well, that's where we're going, because we're not, because look at what the country's focusing on their marketing right now. Goes back to the beginning when I said you're marketing on very effeminate men and women who they can't name. It's bizarro world. It's insane. You can't ask anybody to name a policy of Harris's, but I've admitted I can't name a policy of Trump's. I'm too much focused on the other side right now. So it's you. So what do you like about Kamala Harris? Well, she's going to do this. She's going to do this. She's going to do this. She's in office right now. Why can't she do any of this? Well, we just need a woman. And then now they're bringing in a guy who I'm going to be the enemy of America because I'm masculine. It's like, I guess I should be more like Coach Walz and I should be soft and loving. And no, I think we're going to fucking drown. I really do.
Yeah. No, see, it's always the end of the world as we know it.
All the time. All the time. Yes.
That's why I can't get sucked into it. Like I can objectively observe what's going on and I can kind of like scoff and, say, oh my God, like really, what the F? And beyond that, I move on and I focus on what I can control, which is how I relate to my husband and how I relate to people in my life, the example that I set and the work that I do with my clients and trying to make the world a better place, one person, one woman at a time. And if we all did that at our local level, I mean, that is how the Republic was constructed, was that the power starts at the local level with we the people. And the local level is not just your, corner courthouse. The local level is literally your dining room table, your family, your marriage, and how you view all of that and move within all of that according to your truth, which is your biological design.
Oh, so shut up with
I keep beating the same horse.
I know. Shut up with your dumb personal responsibility.
I know.
Have you seen this? I want to pivot really quickly. They've always done this. You know what the Shroud of Turin is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Shroud of Turin is allegedly the burial shroud of Christ. And there have been people who tried to debunk it. When I was a kid in the 80s, it was featured on National Geographic, and I was absolutely fascinated by this was the image. And my mother had this image. I was like, oh my God. And if you really look at it, it's awesome, but they can't prove it's a forgery, all this stuff, whatever. And back in the 60s or 70s, they took pieces from the shroud and they carbon dated it and said, oh, it's a fraud. It's only 600 years old. Well, about 20 or 30 years after that, so early 2000s, I believe this was, they kind of proved that carbon dating isn't as accurate as they think it is. But not to mention the section, this is what I read, the section that they took the samples from to test the shroud's authenticity and date was from a repaired section of the shroud after a fire in like the 1400s. So, right. So it's like, okay, but apparently now this is the AI generated face of what's on the shroud. That's kind of, I don't know anymore, dude. Like I've seen other, what do you call it? They had like another Discovery Channel video on this where they did a 3D image printing of it, and it looked like more like a caveman. But the dimensions of the shroud would say this man, whoever's on there, would be 6 feet tall. All of the injuries line up with what's reported biblically. So it's all, I legitimately think that the shroud is 100% authentic. There's no question. But when I'm torn on doing this stuff, right? Because
I don't trust AI.
I'm going there, but it's also like, as a Catholic, I grew up with crucifixes all over the house.
Yeah.
And you made the sign of the cross, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. But now it's like, those are symbols, and you're not praying to a crucifix and all this. And I know it's a focus, right? It's a starting point. My problem with this is, can they DNA manipulate this and create a clone who comes back and says, I'm Jesus, and that's the Antichrist?
Right. Yeah.
We clearly saw what you looked like online. The Bible says no one has ever seen God, and that's the Father. Clearly, in human form, people have seen Christ, whatever. I don't want an image that, like, this isn't rubbing well with me, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, it's kind of in black and white, so it's a bit hard to tell, but it doesn't look like he's very tan to me.
Oh, he's going to be Middle Eastern, clearly.
And the logic tells us that Christ was Middle Eastern. He was not white. That skin looks very white.
Yeah, it does.
So, and I don't trust AI. No. So, like, what agenda is AI trying to push here?
Yep. I don't know, dude. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
No. But I don't think that the Antichrist is going to come back claiming to be Jesus.
Who's he coming back claiming he is, though?
I don't know that, but he's going to be an officer of the papacy.
Okay. You talking about like the Rome, the church?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I don't trust that for shit.
Mm-hmm. Because there's 2 signs in Revelation that we are given. I'm trying to make sure I get this correct. That are going to identify the Antichrist. They're going to help us identify the Antichrist, and it's that he will claim to be God and be able to forgive sin. Okay, so it's blasphemy and a half, right? And we already have the Pope. If you look at the Vatican's canon, we already have the Pope that has declared that he has the power to forgive sin.
Yeah, they also have purgatory, and literally, I argued with this with people in my family. You believe Jesus is God? Yes, I do. You believe Jesus died for all your sins? Yes. Do you believe that his sacrifice cleansed your sins? Yes. Then what do we go to purgatory for? We have to, we're getting fire, like the fire's burning off our sins that we didn't put. Yeah. Well, then what the fuck did he die for on the cross for in the first place, though?
Yeah. So, I mean, they're literally telling you, like, you must go to purgatory, aka you must be burned in the fire, aka that sounds a whole lot like hell.
Cleansed,
right? Yep. But we're supposed to believe that the Vatican and the Pope, the papacy, is all about. And when I say papacy, I mean there is no division between church and state. That's the origin of the papacy. If you go back in history, that's where we're headed as a country in the United States, and that's why I'm saying that the second beast, the Antichrist, is going to rise through America, through the papacy, and completely interconnected with the Vatican, the state of Rome.
I believe that. Well, they say like the 7-headed dragon is Rome. So I believe all that shit.
That's a fun one. The 7-headed dragon is a lot. Yeah. And the statue of remember the dream that the king had about the statue of Nimrod with the head of gold and the feet of iron and clay.
We still don't know where he is.
It's very interesting.
They found his tomb, so that's going on. All right, flexyourfeminine.com. Go check her out. Go look at all the good stuff there. And
come say hi.
Yeah. You can send nudes to me, not to her.
And if you use the code Izzo, you will save money on any of your programs that you decide to get started with me.
That's a fucking deal, dudes. Spreely.com. Share it over the weekend. If you got anything at all, like I said, you can text the show 708-982-0974. Let us know what you think. You can also email to rantsofizzo@gmail.com. Some of you have sent me articles or replied to the articles we're putting on the newsletter. We appreciate you. Without your involvement, this show's a fucking piece of shit. So we love you. Have a great damn weekend. I'll see you guys Monday.